Last time on FableSMP, Wolf and Caspian came home with quite the exciting news. They had brought many fun things from the end, including armor trims. We got armor trims, we got more books, and we got the enchanted inks. Magic tattoos. So these are now tattoos that you can paint on the skin with the enchanted quill. They don't hurt. It's not, a needle. All the colors are eternal if they're used together. And they are quite literally magic tattoos as they move slightly. Ray now has 2 tattoos, one on his collarbone with the constellation of an axolotl that they made up while camping, and the phrase, your sunrise and sunset for Axe and Caspian. And then on his back, over a lightning scar that is old from this fight with Mambu, pink tulips that say never alone, like the necklace that Jamie gave him so that they could always find each other. And they could always find each other. It was really good. It was a really good, positive moment. Last time on FableSMP. Started out as a fun day with Ray setting up his new armor and getting to show those and the tattoo parlor off to Sherbert and Athena. And then Haley showed up. Said she had a shopping list for things from the end. So they got her set up with some wings and went on a little end field trip. Just a short one. They didn't actually need too many supplies. Just a couple stacks of chorus fruit, a couple stacks of the end stone, and in it, Sherbert did do some testing with Quixis things, seeing that they went and saw the world port when they went through the end portal. It caused some impact of worsening their eye and causing pain again. And then they flew over with Haley to go help her finish her Dark House project. Only to see when they flew up the haunted house from season 1. Athena freaked out, and Ray followed after Haley to demand answers and was told that she was fixing the path, that Ray was supposed to have made this and he didn't, so she had to put them on the right path, and that she had to do this. She was very cryptic in telling them things. And now Ray is very on edge about everything, about what that means, what Haley means, and what's going to happen next. Last time on FableSMP, Ray woke up in the middle of a very messy office to his energy reader for his DERs going off to notify him that one of the devices had gone offline. He jotted it down and started getting to work instead on practicing his powers with the Illyrion's power of space, trying to work on the bubble as he hasn't made one since this reset. So he tried to push himself, knowing that the times he has gotten the bubble to work has been when other people are in danger. He wasn't willing to do that and hoped that if he put himself in enough danger, he could possibly get it to trigger, even though when he was literally about to drown in front of Oshi. His bubble power did not trigger to save him then. So he was trying, and it resulted in Wolf having to pull him out of the river, not breathing, because he couldn't get it right. He's not doing great. He's just very scared right now. Very afraid of all the things that are happening with Fable and Saraza and Haley are signs that another reset is coming. And he's terrified. Last time on FableSMP, Ray has been hiding away a bit up in Wolf's observatory, unable to quite face his partners after the incident in the river, but was able to go check in on Oshi, see how she's doing after Ven, and get her to try and practice their abilities together. Oshi trying to focus on different emotions to try and, instead of push water away, summon water towards her in a bubble like Ray does. And they were actually able to make quite a bit of progress when they were focused more on positive, when they were focused on the people they love and care about, even being able to talk about each other. Oshi was able to get to the point that she could maintain a bubble and allow Ray to breathe in it. And Ray has been able to make a bubble that will stay, to the point that he excitedly grabbed his partner. He grabbed Caspian while he was home, pulled him over, and has formed his first, what appears to be for now, permanent pocket dimension as a emergency safe house and shelter in case of another reset happening. Last time on FableSMP, Ray has completed the permanent pocket dimension bubble. It's small, but a great start. A place for safety, an emergency shelter in case of a reset happening, and it's progress. And any day now, they will be working on lighting the portal. Last time, though, he went and checked in on another thing, which was that one of his DERs had gone offline, and when he walked over there, found that Ven had removed it, thinking that Ray had destroyed part of the village and not even told Ven about it. So they got to clear up that misunderstanding and have a very interesting, almost friendship start. They were too tired to yell at each other, and instead found some common ground, especially in Ray seeing that if he didn't have his family, his partners, he'd probably be a lot like Ven. Last time on FableSMP, everything is coming to a head. Ray went and visited the Eternal Solstice with Centros and Wolf, where Centros gave them a tour of what he's been working on for months now, building this place where the souls that haunt him can maybe find some peace. And it was amazing. Ray was amazed and so impressed with his best friend. And the moment may not have been ruined, but was definitely changed when at the bottom of the Epros temple was a shulker box that shouldn't have been there, containing Reaper's Reaver, the scythe that Centros used when he was the Violet Reaper. And in anger, he flew over and yelled at Epros, demanding answers of why it was there. And for the first time, we heard Epros speak, talking to each of them. Centros, Wolf, and Ray. Not on my stream, but on Arasana's, she finally spoke once more to Saraza and reached out to Ray to let him know that she's ready. So Ray has sent out messages to everyone, telling them to gather at Town Hall today because they're going to light the portal. And it might cause a reset. So he's told everyone to be prepared. Last time on FableSMP was quite the event, as Arasana was ready and gave up Saraza to light the portal. And it worked. But Fable didn't come through. They stood there and they waited and nothing happened. No one stepped out. So they had to go in. A group went in, going to go and find Purgatory. It was empty. And far in the back was a massive door and a robot next to it. The robot played back an audio file where they could hear Endirian and Soul talking about how the door worked based on almost soul bonds. Not the soul bonds between people, but between items and knowledge. And they were able to deduce that to be able to open the door, they would have to give something up. They didn't know, when Centros went first, that that thing would be erased from their memories. It appears to only be erased from the memories of people who were in Purgatory, as the group that was outside of it seems to still remember the things. But Ray gave up his necklace, with Jamie giving up his bracelet. And they got Fable out. Only for Centros to attempt to kill him. Though it didn't do anything. Fable removed the sword without injury and handed it back and asked to go. He just wanted to go see his family. And so they did. They walked out, they went home and found that outside was a mess. Quixis had gone absolutely wild. They had hurt Sherbert and Mambu, and Sherbert was hiding down in their bunker, where Fable went alone so that no one else got hurt, to go get his child. Icarus finally learned their name. Last time on FableSMP, we were following up what happened after Fable was released from Purgatory. Pretty directly, actually. We're picking up right after where Icarus woke up from a nap in the med bay, and Ray a nap from falling asleep at his desk while waiting for them. Fable was there after having helped get Athena and Axe home safe, and the three of them got to talk after Ray did a checkup on Sherbert. Well, now I'm gonna have to get used to saying Icarus as well, huh? Where Ray did a check on Icarus's back and is concerned about the possibility of nerve damage due to having an elytra injury. But they got to talk, finally, to Fable and start asking questions. And we learned some interesting things. We learned, of course, we have Sherbert's name. We also got what Fable had intended to name Ray. Theseus. We had things like stories about how Fable and Isla met and fell in love. How he fell for her. We had things about the resets. That Fable doesn't know exactly what's causing them because they started after he was already put in purgatory. We also learned another important timeline piece, that Fable and Isla did not meet until the War of the Realms came to its stalemate. There's some pretty interesting pieces. So, those bits together, we had the three of them go over to Icarus's house, ready to go get the bird boy to get more rest, when realizing that Fable would need somewhere to stay. So, he made one in the form of a floating house, tower, small castle, whatever you want to call it. But he has a home now. We have somewhere for him to be. And Ray has a lot to think about. Last time on FableSMP, Ray and Wolf ran into each other and got to kind of catch up on all the things going on the strange behavior of Centros, of the pressure that Ray is feeling, and the two of them always seem to be able to help each other out. And Wolf took him out on some mandatory enrichment to go show Ray the mysterious island in the end where they had originally found the tattoo inks and the armor trims. But when they got there, things were a little different than the last time Caspian and Wolf had been there. There was a note from the god that lived there, saying, hey, to the people that stole my shit. Did it work? Did it look cool? So they sure had that moment, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. They went home, realizing that maybe they might not have the tattoos for too much longer if God demands them back. They quickly got more tattoos. Ray getting the constellation Lupus and a wolf design up his arm, with Wolf getting a book with turning pages on his back. And the two of them, they help keep each other grounded. Last time on FableSMP, Ray reached out to Ulysses to ask him for some medical insight on nerve damage injuries, because Ray is very concerned that Icarus may have a larger back injury than it appears, because of Ray's own experience with breaking his wings 2 resets ago. And it ended up being quite an interesting discussion between the two of them, talking about how the elytra work. But with that, Ulysses did a bit of an examination on Ray, talking about what happened, finding that Ray's nerve damage was not due to the elytra, but due to a spinal injury that he received when he fell. So it is likely that Icarus will be okay without that, as Icarus didn't take a fall like he did. It also led into talking about Ray's lung issues, as he definitely has those as well, as he cannot breathe very deeply after all of the damage to the skull confection, And then, you know, some bonus things like running through a burning building, drowning twice, all that jazz. So it hit Ray a little hard just to hear about all of it. Even if it's not there anymore, he can get phantom pains that will act up. And obviously the lungs are still an issue. Even if it's not as bad as it once was, the things that Ray has been through has taken its toll. Quite a toll on his body. But he got comforted by Wolf and his boyfriend afterwards. Last time on FableSMP, Ray was starting to kind of monitor some of the Quixis whack that happened recently when Jamie came over and asked to spend time together. Jamie wanted to go hang out. They went on a little mini camping trip out to the Mushroom Island that is between the central town and where the beach camping site is. He went over there and got to spend some time together, catching up on things that have been going on, and lots of little details like, well, Ray telling Jamie about the tattoos and giving Jamie a tattoo. They got to test the enchanted pen on fur, and it worked very well. And Jamie got to tell Ray about a lot of progress with Delta, and finally told Ray about being Delta's vessel. And the two of them got to talk about that and the changes that have happened in their life together. Overall, it gave Jamie an idea. And they sent Ray away for a night to take the lab to themselves. And Jamie brought Martin back to life, now as a brown mushroom. And so Martin has returned, and Jamie has started to not quite figure out maybe yet, but compromise, work on, move forward with who is Jamie versus who is Delta. Last time on FableSMP, Ray went over to see Caspian, quick at work, busy, running around, quite familiar sight, just a little mirrored, seeing a little bit of himself and how he works, reflected in his boyfriend. Trying to figure out how to power Raza back up, and had been trying out many different methods without very much luck. So Ray had an idea, that they go review the notes that they have up in the library. And one of them felt familiar. When it was an audio log of two people talking, Ray had the thought that it could be Endirian and Soul again. So he tried something new, reaching into Endirian's soul shard on purpose to try and see if those were her memories, and he was correct, as he showed it to Caspian, a memory of Endirian and Soul together, turning on Raza, talking about how they had been attempting to do something else. It had a very bad side effect, though. When Ray opened his eyes, and they were both eyes of Ender, and his scar was bleeding, and he was severely injured. Caspian had to go get help, get Ulysses to come assist bandaging him up. And since then, Ray has been maybe not the best about his own recovery, having run into Arasana when he was out already, maybe a bit sooner than he should. And, well, got a little bit more injured from her when she thought that he had perhaps left the allies on their lonesome. She got a little aggressive. Last time on FableSMP, Ray woke up and found a distressed wolf in his front yard. Wolf was freaking out after seeing the recently revived Martin and struggling with the idea that Jamie says it's okay, but doesn't feel okay, and that being a lot. So Ray got him to calm down and ended up bringing Wolf over to the study to just be with him and be present while Ray got to work on notes. And Ray started working on his books, only to look over and see Wolf had fallen asleep. So, unable to move Wolf at the moment, as Ray's chest injury is, well, wasn't exactly helped by a strong hug from Wolf. So, Ray couldn't move him, but didn't want him to just be on the floor uncomfortable, so gave his cape and maybe let something slip out that he is not sure what it means yet. But he got to work, ended up actually working with signs again as a way to try and organize his thoughts on the timeline of events now that he has more information. Last time on FableSMP, Ray went over to Icarus's house, giving a delivery of supplies after Ray had moved the signs he worked on last time down to the room where they have the test chamber for testing for the god frequency in auras. Down there, Ray put everything so it was out of the way and kind of has been stuck in his own head a bit, but pushed through it to go talk to Icarus and check in on them. And in that, kind of got to catch up a bit with his brother, and both of them having kind of being in recovery from injuries. It came up, though, about Ray's discussions with Ulysses and his lung problems, which got Sherbert thinking of potion solutions, perhaps, and got their brain burring real hard, going very excitedly into a whole new method of creating potions based more on end stone and rods and cold items, and successfully made a whole batch of new types of potions, some of which seemed to help. It worked out pretty well. But Ray sank back into his own thoughts about a lot of heavy weight right now. Things on him that he had hoped maybe would be gone when they brought Fable through. Maybe some confusing romantic feelings. Maybe some confusion over his role in this new family. He's not entirely sure. Last time on FableSMP, Ray had quite the nightmare of, I guess you could say, the personification of some of his inner thoughts from lately. He was back in the Endstone Reset study and pretty hard on himself. Even remembered a little bit about what he looked like as a child. But when he woke up from that nightmare, the worry didn't end, as he found out that he had projected the dream to both of his partners, and that was quite a time trying to figure out his emotions there and the struggle with not knowing how to use his abilities and just the stress that he has been feeling lately. But it opened up a conversation with the three of them, which helped a lot, though it uncovered some really hard things as well, like that Ray and Axe no longer remember how they met, due to what Axe gave up in Purgatory. That one was really hard, and Caspian ended up having an idea to try and help, and brought them all up to the tattoo parlor and got little tattoos of 2 suns and a moon that orbit around their pinkies as the promises to remember each other. Not on my stream, but on Ven's, we've seen Ray recently, where Ven and Oshi got in a fight, and Oshi ended up chasing Ven into the Nether across the bridge that Ven had not quite finished working on, and ended up getting severely hurt when she fell through part of the under construction bridge. Ven rushed to go get Wolf and Centros for help, and they helped get Oshi out of the Nether and home, but Wolf brought Ven over to Ray and said, he can't be here right now. We need to go help Oshi. But I don't want him to go home alone and be alone either. Ray, can you watch him? A little pick up the cat by the scruff and drop him on the doorstep. But Ray helped calm Ven down from the panic attack and get comfy in their guest room. Last time on FableSMP, Ray was feeling a little overwhelmed and stressed, and so went over to the end to go talk to Epros. Though they didn't actually appear this time. Someone else sure did. And Ray ran into Centros in the end, which had him spooked, because Centros came up wearing the armor that he used to back in the Endstone reset. And Ray, in his fear, immediately bubbled Centros. And then, to try and speak to him, opened a window into the bubble, which Centros immediately ender-pearled out of to escape. So Ray put a bubble around the both of them. And he was very scared, but finally got Centros to talk to him about what's going on, what happened in Purgatory, why he's wearing the armor, why he's been acting weird, and if not everything was said, but a lot. Enough that they are back on good terms. And Ray is not scared that he is under the control of Endirion, as he was able to at least confirm that. And they had quite a talk together about it. Last time on FableSMP, Ray was working on trying to figure out some things to help Oshi when he was interrupted by Athena coming over. Maybe because Athena found the sign wall in the basement. But Ray got to show them a bit of it, and then realized he could show Athena a lot more. Because he could actually show Athena their mom, with his abilities, with being able to share his memories with others. And this did not hurt him. He was okay, as he wasn't reaching more into Endirion's memories. He was sharing his own. And it led the two of them to finally go talk to Fable about Soul and Nethrum, and learn about how Nethrum was the one to fall Illyrion. And now, after everything that has happened, Fable is starting to believe that Nethrum might not have been the one in control when that happened. And they also learned about how Endirion cursed Soul, and a bit about how curses and God's powers work in general. It was a good amount of insight into things, but Ray had to change focus again. Couldn't bring himself to think too much about how he could maybe one day help his mother's own curse, madness, and to go back to focusing on the person who needs him right now, which is Oshi. Last time on FableSMP, Ray had quite the idea on how to try and get help for Oshi, because right now, none of them know how to help her. Potions haven't really seemed to do anything. Anything they've tried hasn't been working. She hasn't woken up. Her heartbeat hasn't improved. They haven't seen anything. But Centros had mentioned someone that does know more about Oshi. That being Nell, having gotten to get the chance to study her a little bit when she was over on Myr. And Ray knew that the rift in Oshi's ender chest could serve as a way for him to be able to reach out to Nell to get help. And what is an ender chest but a pocket dimension? So Ray went over and, with Centros's help, tried to access the rift within Oshi's ender chest, and was successful. But he couldn't reach into her ender chest and take the pen pal book. He did open a rift to FableSMP, and not wanting to risk a full swap, but wanting to very quickly do something with the rift that they had open, Ray pushed himself further and used his mind powers to pull Nell's consciousness over to Centros's body. And the effect was being able to talk to Nell for a short period of time while Centros's consciousness was lost in the void. And this action put a lot of strain on both of them, as Centros's body was struggling with that, and Ray's chest scar started bleeding a lot. They got advice from Nell on needing to stop seeing Oshi as human, to treat her as the ocean, as the part of water that she is. And when the rift collapsed and closed, Ray quickly had to head out, trying to get home to get himself help, while he left Centros to fend for himself and maybe try and take care of Oshi. He was planning to at least go try and take care of himself, and I think he was lucky that Arasana caught him on his way home to be able to help him out. And she got him at least bandaged up, maybe talked a little bit of sense into him, but we'll see how long that sticks. And before he went to sleep, finally, he saw someone else in the room with him for just a moment. Last time on FableSMP, Ray had quite the dream, talking to yet another version of Oshi, calling herself Spirit, the original author of the travel spell, who was coming to, well, talk to him, kind of say, wow, I'm a big fan. You did something cool. But also, you did something bad. She was coming with a bit of a warning. As another version of Oshi, called Gilded, may be very upset by what they did when they opened a rift between Fable and FableSMP. That's not great. But that was just the beginning, as Ray decided he didn't really want to stick around where the spooky the spooky demon Oshi was perhaps haunting him a little bit. Went up and ended up at Starbucks, where Wolf was. And maybe would have said something. Maybe could have said something. But ended up not. Because his scar started hurting before he really got the chance to say anything. And ended up having to tell Wolf what he and Centros had done. They rushed home to go check on Centros, and it ended up being an interesting time of getting to talk to Centros a bit. Maybe telling Centros some of his feelings. Last time on FableSMP, Ray spotted the new hole in their front yard. One of the Quixis holes. Big chunk missing where the end farm for chorus fruit once was, is now gone. It was replaced by a book. It was in Quixian. Ray had to go over to Icarus to get help to translate, and found that things over by his brother also changed, with two new pretty large structures appearing around Icarus's home. One of which they assume is from Faye's universe, as the auras matched. One of which didn't have an aura. And from the message that Quixis left Icarus on what happened in the orange doorway, Ray now believes he is responsible for the destruction of one of the multiverses. As Quixis said, that he did not do that again. Messing with the rifts caused more destabilization. So now he has Quixis upset, Gilded upset, and I think probably most of all himself. Very, very hard on himself last time. And not on my stream, but on Meta's. Axe found Ray trying to work, though he wasn't very successful at it, and was able to get him at least calmed down a bit. Getting to sit together in the living room, braid Axe's hair, talk to him about what was going on. Got them at least to a better spot. Ray was able to go relax a little bit. Last time on FableSMP, Ray ended up talking to Caspian about many of the things going on, from worlds being destroyed to liking boys. It was a good time overall, as Ray and Caspian got to talk through interest in Wolf. And Caspian proceeded to drag him and Wolf out on an adventure to the end, where they went back to that funky island where M stays. And M has offered a trade-off of, well, you need to provide me something if you get to keep my stuff. So they worked on little statues of things that perhaps M hasn't ever seen before. Sniffer, slime, an axolotl, and it was fun. Though it did end up perhaps in Ray having a bit of emotional moment in God's backyard. It was fine. Not on my stream, but on Centros's. Ray went over and at least seems to be leaning towards wanting to talk to Wolf soon. Though now he's more stuck on how. So he went over to Centros and started asking Centros what some of Wolf's favorite things are. And in that conversation, while they were having that, Oshi woke up. And they were able to talk to her, finally, about things that have been going on and making sure she's okay. And Ray having to explain what they did, which is never fun. But eventually Ray headed out to go help Wolf repair the bridge in the Nether so that no one else gets hurt. Last time on FableSMP, Ray had just wrapped up working on his multiverse notes, sharing them with the auras, catch them all up, and then started trying to plan maybe how he was going to talk to Wolf. But that did get interrupted from an alert from his DERs as a surge of gold aura energy happened around the tree. And when he rushed up concerned for Mambu, he saw that more of the tree has glitched and that her injury has gotten worse. So Ray spent some time with her and with Ulysses, who also saw the tree changing from where he was down working on the construction site. And they all talked about Mambu, trying to figure out how to help someone like her. Well, her. There's no one else like Mambu. And they had a time. But there were also positive moments. Though Mambu may have been deflecting, she did still get positive moments in there of getting Ray to talk about his plans with Wolf and encourage him just like she did back with Caspian. It was sweet. And Ray headed home with a more solid idea in mind and got to work. And off screen delivered a note to Wolf's door. Wolf, are you free this weekend? I was thinking we could go on a little mini road trip. Meet at Starbucks Saturday at noon if you'll join me. Ray. Last time on FableSMP, Ray delivered an invitation to Wolf to join him at Starbucks for a bit of a mini road trip, a little adventure they could have together, where it was actually Ray trying to find somewhere to confess his feelings to Wolf. And it wasn't really working how Ray had hoped. He was hoping to wing it and find a good spot like they had last time. It wasn't, though. It wasn't quite working how he had hoped, at least how he thought. But they ended up out in the middle of nowhere on a snowy hilltop, Ray feeling bad that he couldn't seem to find that perfect spot, and Wolf not caring, because it all felt perfect to him, and started a snowball fight. The two of them ended up toppling over on top of each other, in which Ray, all thoughts went out the window and just kissed him about it instead. only then did he back up and try and actually explain what he had meant to say. And yeah. So Ray and Wolf have now confessed their feelings to each other and are dating. Is good. So now the polycule expands. The polycule expands. Last time on FableSMP, Ray got home after his date and found Ven there, and they got to talk a little bit. Ven got to learn about Wolf, and they had a couple of soft moments, some good hugs and care, and it was good. And then the door rang, and it was Fable. So that was an interesting space to be in. They ended up going and talking about Ray's research, his timeline, and talking a lot through all of the things that Ray has up there, learning about Purgatory, about possibly why no one can remember what happened to Virago, and the end shattering. It was a lot. And Ray ended up slipping away after a while because Wolf messaged him that he was done with the room that they share now. So he went over there and got to talk to Wolf a little bit. Got to choose to try and take a break, hand over his notes to Wolf, and entrust them to him while he needed a mental moment to step away from everything. Last time on FableSMP, Ray woke up in quite the dream, if you want to call it that, where Gilded brought him and Centros to the void beyond Epros, where she talked to them about the crime against the multiverse that they had committed and warned them not to do it again, not to mess with it, not to look into it, none of that. After that, the two of them, Centros and Ray, met up and went out to the end void, where they got to yell a bit at their own void. Well, Centros yelled, Ray cried. Well, that's not exactly a surprise.